Get tough, get serious, cut away the bullshit this week. It is a big Mars week this week. Last week we had a whole bunch of Saturn all up in the piece. I had to think about borders, boundaries, what we not gonna do. This week it is all about Mars. It's a little bit more aggressive. It's a little more getting in there, trying to do stuff, and it is very precise and accurate with these cuts. The good news here is that with all this Mars, there is a bunch of Jupiter here as well. Jupiter is in position to help, and so by making cuts, we can improve the situation. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer. You should check out zamboniphone.com if you want an astrology reading, if you want a tarot reading, if you want to learn astrology, all that sort of stuff. If you want to listen to some dope-ass music, there's a whole bunch of that too. Check it out, zamboniphone.com. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. This week is... So we got a full moon in Aries. Aries is a Mars sign. Mars is in Scorpio, at home, comfortable, doing the Mars things. Mars is real strong in Scorpio. One of the things that I really like about this week is that Mercury is moving into Scorpio as well. Now, maybe that's just the reason that I like Mercury in Scorpio is because I have personal Mercury in Scorpio, and so maybe it's just comfortable and home placement for me. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I like it. But something about Mercury in Scorpio is very much about seeing the thing, very accurately seeing the thing, and pulling no punches with it. You know what I mean? Especially with Mars there at the same time. We got both Mercury and Mars in Scorpio, and Mercury is catching up to that Mars pretty quick. Mercury is moving faster than Mars, and so anytime Mercury is moving quickly, then that's going to be a strong Mercury, a Mercury who's able to do a lot. You know, it's good to remember that. So where Mars is aggressive and trying to get stuff done and pushing on stuff and pushing boundaries and all that kind of thing, especially in Scorpio, going underneath the skin, you know what I mean? Like piercing the veil in some kind of way, or piercing the boundary in some sort of way. Mercury is the planet of communication, of transmission, all the trans stuff. So, you know, in between here and there, transgression perhaps might be part of the thing that happens this week with this Mercury here in Scorpio. Mercury and Mars together there in Scorpio looks very much like it doesn't give a fuck what you think. It's saying the damn thing and it's going for it. Now, it's also interesting to remember that Mercury in Scorpio is ruling Venus in Virgo. So Venus in Virgo is very good at noticing the flaws, the problems in things. You know, Venus in Virgo is really good. One of the things that I always say about Venus in Virgo is that it's very good for like copy editing and this kind of thing. It's very good for, you know, finding where things don't make sense or where things are incoherent, inconsistent in some kind of way. Very good for quality control. Before the thing goes out to publication, we got to make sure that it's tightened up in some kind of way. So Mercury in Scorpio ruling that Venus in Virgo. Virgo is going to be very concerned with details and like the small bits of things, right? And so Mercury, who in Scorpio cares very much about precision, very much, right? Scorpio is the sign of the needle, the scorpion who has a needle attached to his body, right? And so there's something about going deep there, but then also being very precise. It's not the same as, you know, like hacking with an axe or something like that, which is something that can happen with, if we've got a lot of Aries stuff going on, that kind of thing. You know, there's something that's very precise about Mercury in Scorpio, and in fact, even with this full moon in Aries, it is ruled by Mars in Scorpio, and so it's going to be more precise version of our Aries stuff than we typically get. But in both of these cases, so we've got full moon in Aries and we've got Venus in Virgo, all of that is going to be making aspect to Jupiter in Cancer. And in fact, Jupiter in Cancer is making an overcoming trine to Mars and Mercury in Scorpio as well. Now, those planets aren't going to make an exact aspect to that Jupiter this week the same way that Venus is and the full moon will be, but that's coming up next week, and there's and even a whole sign aspect is going to put us in position to. So Jupiter in Cancer Jupiter's job is to make things bigger, expansive, improve things in some kind of way. Jupiter in Cancer is very comfortable. This is Jupiter in exaltation. This is Jupiter in a position where Jupiter is very good at doing the Jupiter things and very well resourced to do whatever it is that Jupiter is trying to do. So Jupiter, in this case, is going to be looking at the problems discovered by Venus in Virgo, and it's going to be like, yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for pointing out that problem. Let's do something good with that. Let's make something better about it, right? And so even though the criticism probably doesn't come off in a way that feels constructive, there is a way to be like, okay, but you have a point over here, even though that's cutting a little deeper than I want it to. You have a point, and maybe I can do something about this, right? Maybe there is a solution to be had, an idea to be had here in some kind of way. We will see the moon moving into Gemini late in the week and making a conjunction to Uranus there in Gemini. I love to see Uranus and Gemini for new ideas, innovation, all of that sort of stuff. And so there's probably going to be something here that takes the problems that have been associated with Venus and Virgo and moves it towards something that is useful, especially that making forward motion toward a situation that could be better is very Mars in Scorpio, and Mars and Mercury in Scorpio together are very much so. You know, Mars can cause a lot of problems. Mars is kind of ragey sometimes, and there can be problems associated with, you know, doing the most, going overboard in some kind of way, overheating, you know, like war, fighting problems, those kinds of things, you know, conflict, all of that sort of stuff. Doesn't necessarily have to be problematic, but tends toward problems, right? So Mars does best when there is a goal to accomplish, when you've got your eye set on a thing and you're trying to move toward a goal. That sort of thing really helps Mars to take all of this excess energy and move it in a productive kind of way. And so this looks like a time when, especially, you know, the precision of Scorpio I really like for aiming at a goal. And this is probably a good week for determining a good goal to aim at in the first place. You know, like if we think about Mercury and Mars together in Scorpio, that one of the things that I've been thinking about in the lead up to this is how good that's going to be for strategy, for you know, I'm thinking about this in a reading kind of way, you know, like thinking about Mercury as the planet of writing and communications and that sort of stuff. But communication is not simply expression, it's also impression. It's not just writing, it's also reading, right? And so there's something about, if we put it in a Mars kind of space, like noticing the battlefield and reading the battlefield. It's a little bit like a master chess player looking at the field, the board, and seeing all of the things that are happening, maybe seeing what the other team's strategy is and working on one's own strategy in response to that, even anticipating that in some kind of way. That's part of what Venus in Virgo is going to be really good for also, is like noticing all the details and being like, we're not going to let that happen over here because we're open on this side and they're approaching from that direction. And so what we need to do is blank, right? This is going to be really good for that kind of strategy. So where your strategy is lacking, this is going to be a really good week to get in there. And it's like, so just like last week was all Saturn everything, and so it was like, it wasn't particularly comfortable. This week also doesn't look particularly comfortable. Sure, we're going to have the moon in Taurus for a minute, but the moon in Taurus is ruled by Venus in Virgo, who is wildly uncomfortable and sitting on a south node and all the rest of that, right? So it doesn't look like it's a comfortable time. It does look like, by leaning into things that are uncomfortable, by you know, getting comfortable with the knife's edge. Sometimes you get cut, but if you get good with that knife, then there are things that are very useful, that are important to do, that need to get done, that you can do with that knife, right? And so this is going to be that kind of week where things might get a little bit dangerous, things might get a little bit sharp, pointy. You know, it's going to be really, Mars and Mercury together is often aggressive words, fighting words, you know, like, you know, I would definitely expect arguments to erupt in a time like this. But there's, again, like, other guy might have a point sometimes. There might be like, this is going to be really good for noticing where the flaws in your own argument are and getting yourself together as a result of that. Now, if you want help doing that kind of thing, you can check out the 10-minute transit touch point. I'm real nice with those 10 minutes. It's basically this kind of situation where you ask a question, be like, I don't know, what am I not seeing about this situation? I'll be like, check out how Jupiter is helping you out here. Zamboniphone.com.